Maybe a late storm or early storm.
Early.
You know, it's clouded up down there at
It's going to hit in August this year. They ain't going to wait till September. I don't think.
There's some clouds down there right now in Florida.
Well,
there may not be much to it.
This here is still July. You know, about 21st of July.
Yeah.
I'm looking for it about the 15th of August.
Are you really?
Oh, that's
Why do you feel that way?
It's just my feeling.
I know that.
You panic. You can't panic. And you got to be ready to die anytime. Whatever, you know, whatever I do, I don't care whether I see the sunrise.
Frank, you wouldn't ride another one, another Carla, would you?
Shoot, yeah.
You would?
Heck yeah, I'd like to ride it out on Brown Cedar Cut. I was going to build me a deal over there, but
Sam, quit scooting.
I never had time.
You think we're going to have a big storm this year?
I don't know, but I got a feeling we're going to have a storm. It's going to hit the Texas coast.
What are the signs that tell you that? You told me once about raining in May. And
yeah, well, it rained in May, but very little.
Are the, you know, I've got a fishing camp up around San Luis Pass, up the coast, and I got one over here at Downey Canal. And we're catching a lot of rock crabs this year. It's like they're migrating early.
Yeah. That's why we're going to get an early storm. And I tell you, you can tell within a week or 10 days before the storm hit.
Why the seagulls start acting up?
No. We'll be catching fish out here in the creek. They'll bite like crazy. They'll be catching shrimp in the bays and out here in the creek. It happens every time. That, you know, the fish and the shrimp know when that storm's coming. They're coming in.
They'll move up this creek and forward here.
Yeah, that's right. It's like I had the west door open, and the water was that much higher, about 12 inches higher, on the outside than it was in the house.
Is that right?
That doesn't
Yes.
make sense. I just
It
thought
don't.
it would be higher inside the house.
No. You see, the vacuum
The wind of the vacuum.
draws it out of the
Huh.
house where it's deeper on the outside. And when the water, before it ever... See, we got 2x10 floor joists, creosoted floor joists in our house. And when the water, before it got in the house, well, everything was closed. You know, the house was closed up. And I got to where I couldn't breathe. You know, there wasn't no oxygen in the house.
Huh.
now we are talking about Hurricane Carla.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, I had the west door open, but all the rest of it, there was no air coming in. And it sucked all the oxygen out, and I couldn't breathe. And I had to, I was getting where I couldn't get no oxygen, so I just went and opened the other door. Then the oxygen came in. And that's why I figured out that the squirrels, you know, that are in the hollow trees and coons and stuff, that's why it kills them, because it sucks all the oxygen out. And they can't breathe. They just die.
Suffocates them.
That's right.
Let me know. Tell me about when the water first started to come in. When you looked across the pasture, how did it look when it first started to build up?
Well, you could see it rolling, you know, just like when you got big breakers on the out on the Gulf.
Yeah.
Well, before the water ever got in the house, it was going over the house. You see, the breakers was going over the house before the water ever got in the house.
That's unbelievable. You're sitting in that house with all that going on outside.
No, it wasn't nothing.
How fast would the wind been blowing?
Oh, I would say between 150 and 170 miles an hour. Because the China berry trees is about that big around. those big trees that are there now. They're about this big around. They was laying flat. And I could look across that woods, you know, at our house.
Mm-hmm.
You know how thick it is now. Shoot, I could see way out on the prairie.
What did it look
Everything
like?
was just laid over.
What did the water look like out the prairie?
Well, I didn't notice what it looked like on the prairie, but there was blue water at the house. It was this deep right there where my pickup was parked.
Mm.
Now you said something about the telephone poles, or tops of the poles coming out of the water. When you looked.
No, it was when I looked the other way when the storm was in full force. Well, I could see house tops and drift, just like shrimp boats coming in down the creek and over there where that slough is. Some of them would turn this way, and just like at the fish house, you know, the shrimp boats coming in. That's what it reminded me of. And some of them would turn this way, and some of them would float on down the creek. And that's where most of the houses was, you know, on that edge of the woods.
What?
And you sat there
What do you
with
think?
all
Well,
this going
sure.
on.
What do you think about with all this going on? Were you having? You didn't have anything to drink, did you?
No, I sure didn't. I did right after the storm.
I think I'd have had a whole lot right after the storm.
Well, no. I walked out of the house. I went to bed that night. I go to bed regular. I went to bed and I had two dogs on the. There was a TV set and the bar. I put a door on it. I took the door off and put one old dog and two pups on top of it, and I put a door on top of my desk and the couch, and I slept on it. And I went to bed at night and I put my arm down and the water was this deep. It was rising. That's when the wind changed, you know. It comes from northeast and then it switches
It comes from
to southwest.
It comes
It
back
comes back.
across you.
And that's when the wind is the highest.
Oh, it's that
when it
backside of
switches.
the wind.
Right.
Mm.
And I put my hand down, the water was about this deep. Well, I figured whenever it comes up this deep, well, it'll wake me up. And I woke up next morning, and it was gone out of the house.
Now, do I remember something about you? You had to cut some holes in your floor? Or?
Yeah, that was before the water ever,
What happened?
my house started floating,
It did.
because it was airtight, you know.
And you cut holes?
Yeah, that was before the electricity went off. You know, it was before because you got 2x10s and there's lots of air in between them. And it moved the house about 3/4 of an inch. I took a saw and cut a hole in the floor in the bathroom. Darn water shot up to the ceiling. It settled down, it's up there, it's still there.
How about tornadoes?
They was all around us, but I was in the house and tornado wasn't supposed to get me.
Did you see any?
I didn't look.
Or hear any?
Oh, shoot, yeah, it was a dozen of them or more. It was just like a freight train.
Those tornadoes are probably what do most of the destruction of those things.
Right, that's right.
You know, when that 500-mile-an-hour wind out of that tornado hits your place, it just goes poof.
Well, it twists.
Right,
There is no way of surviving through a tornado.
right,
Because it'll drive a corn stalk through that tree.
right.
It's
far as wind-
pressure.
As far as wind and waves and water, you got a chance. But if that
Yes.
tornado hits you, you're just...
Yes.
Is that the biggest hurricane you've ever seen down here?
It wasn't too much bigger than 41 and 42.
That was a pretty big storm. I was a kid back then.
I slept through both of them. And the next one's going to be bigger.
You think so?
I hope you're wrong.
Frank,
Oh, so too.
Frank, were you down here when Caney Creek used to empty right into the Gulf before the canal was dug?
No. Nope.
Do you know anybody ever tell you?
I came down here in 1939, and the canal was there. The new canal,
Yeah.
the one that's there now. And in 1940, I worked on the canal.
How's that? You know up there where they've got that little, where they cut that little canal into the Gulf? Not Sharp Hill's cut, but they'll.
Yeah.
Is that
By the bridge.
by the bridge? Or is that
Yeah.
is that staying open pretty good now?
I think it'll stay open. It will after they, see, they're supposed to dredge out Caney Creek
Yeah.
part ways. I don't know how far up.
Who told you that?
I heard that here about 2 months ago.
They're going to dredge Caney.
That's what I heard.
For what reason?
Well, you see, they cut the banks down up above, and they're going to cut the rest of it through the woods, you know, so the water, to drain the water
For flood.
for flood. And this creek, since they cut that down up above, this creek is filling in,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to open it up so it washes out. We're going to have some good fishing if they do that.
And that'll be
Well,
fun.
that'll be pull a lot of trout in here.
Well, Frank, I've always wanted to hear your story about Carla. Who was the first person you saw after the storm? Did you wait out here? Or how'd you get out of the water?
Well, you see, I got out that morning. I stepped out there, and there was a pint that had about that much in it, Jack Daniels, which come out of Milton Williams' house, because that's what he was drinking in his house.
Just floated past.
So I picked it up, and I walked down the Jackson Ditch, toward Jackson Ditch, to check on what was there. And then I was going to walk around. I couldn't get no further because the water was still there. I didn't like to get my butt wet, and it almost got my butt wet, so I turned around and came back. And I was drinking on that, and I got back up to the house, and the pint was empty. So I thought, shoot, there was one. There ought to be another one around here somewhere. Killed a couple of 3 rattlesnakes, you know,
I was
on that.
about to ask you if the snakes weren't pretty bad.
And so I started towards the woods. I was going to walk all the way around, you know. And shoot, I didn't walk 100, 200 yards, you know, from our house around the woods where the drift was.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a quart.
Mm-mm.
Jack Daniels, black label.
Mm-mm. Big
So I
trouble.
picked it up and I thought, God dang it, that's just right. So I started walking around the loop to check on, you know, on the houses. Because I took care of a bunch of them out there. And
Were you
I
the only-
walked around, and I walked out towards Caney Creek, you know, I think it was Mr. Burkett and Mac Phillips was in a boat. And that's when my bottle was just about empty. And I knew Junior would be at Sargent, you know, that morning, because I sent my family out. They went to Bay City. I knew he would be out. And anyway, they took me to Sargent, and sure enough, Junior was already gone. He had to swim on that road. There was places where he had to swim. See, I was going to Sargent whenever I started out that way, but the water was too deep, and I thought, shoot. My bottle was empty, and I thought there bound to be another one. So
Just somewhere around here.
yeah. And anyway, I laid that bottle on the bar. You know, I came back in the house, laid the bottle on, set the empty bottle on the bar, and then got the full one. And by the time I made the loop and walk up about where Caney Creek store is, well, that's when Mr. Burkett and Mac Phillips was in the boat. And so I flagged a ride.
I bet they couldn't believe it.
They didn't believe what?
They didn't believe they ran into you down there walking.
Frank, how would you describe the sound of the wind in the peak of the storm?
Well, the wind, it's just like wind. It didn't, the only thing that every now and then when the tornado came through, which there was probably a dozen or 2 dozen tornadoes, it was just like a freight train passing, you know.
But the 200-mile-an-hour wind didn't have a scream. It didn't bother you a bit.
Mm-mm. No, it just.
You ever think you're gonna die?
No. Shoot, no. I ain't gonna die till the time comes. My death date was set the day I was born.
That hurricane wasn't going to change it, was it?
Shoot, no.
Well, this has been a very historic event to get you on video discussing this.
You mean you taking that crap on that thing?
No, I'm just holding this thing because I want exercise. Frank Fojtik, July 21st. No, wait a minute. You can do what now?
Smell a rattlesnake if he's in a den, and if I'm on the wind side of him, you know, where the wind blows that way, I can walk up right to the den where he's at.
What do they smell like?
I've done it. Huh?
What do they smell like?
Between a long-tailed cat and a wolf.
Oh. You
Pretty
haven't
much
smelled
is-
any snakes on this property, have you?
No.
Frank, now tell me about what happened. You were unloading wood at my father's.
No, I was moving some wood.
Okay, over at my
He had
dad's
some
house.
stacked up.
Okay.
And I was picking it up, and I knew it was a rattlesnake there. But I didn't think he was that high up. You know, I could smell him, but I was... And I moved the board. It was 4x4s and 2x6s, all kind of mixed wood. And I picked up a board, and he was under it, you know, in between the boards.
But off the ground?
Yeah, it was about this high off of the
Oh,
ground.
darn.
And he struck at me. He got my jumper. I had that blue dean jumper. He hit it, and he hung his teeth in it. He cut the thread in it where, you know.
What'd you do?
I'd have had a
Nothing,
heart
I
attack.
just went and killed him.